We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brother. So we're not even going to go there, with all due respect, but I appreciate you as a journalist asking. Thank you.
Because you listen, 7 years ago, I'd have been like, yo, did you hire somebody to kill Pac? But no, you do it like a journalist.
Yeah, no, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that.
Puffy called me back in the day. He called me, he was like, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brothers. I know who you are, but we never met. And I just want to call you man to man, let you know that I ain't have nothing to do with your brother's death. Now, why was he calling me, reaching out to me? Because LA Times had just dropped, it was in the early 2000s, LA Times had just dropped an article in the newspaper implicating him as well.
We don't talk about things that are nonsense. We don't even entertain nonsense, my brothers, so we're not even going to even go there with all due respect. But I appreciate you as a journalist asking thank you, 'cause you listened 7 years ago. I'd have been like you did. You could hire somebody to kill, but no, you do it like a journalist. Yeah. No, I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that Puffy called me back in the day. He called me with like, and he did me he. He was like, just want you to know I ain't hate. I've nothing to do with your brothers. I know who you are, but we never met. And I just want to call you man to let you know that I have nothing to do with your brother's death. Now, why was he calling me, reaching out to me? Because LA Times had just dropped it was in early 2000s LA. Times had just dropped an article in the newspaper implicating him as well. A lot has happened in the unsolved murder case at Tupac since it started. It's been a long 27 years with a lot of ups and downs, however Rex. Entley news has been coming in on a daily basis, and that gives a lot of folks hope that we might get to the end of this saga, filled with mystery and uncertainty. Keedy's arrest, East versus West Coast documentaries, Greg Kading, all of these form talks case. However, no matter where you look, you see Diddy's name, and there's only a certain number of times before you start to wonder if there's something more to it. See, the fact that Keedy is no longer a free man means that we might see the feds come knock on Puffy's door, and it might be happening in the very near future. So here's how and why. So first, let's hop back in time to understand how we got to this point, starting with the hit on Pac and Suge that changed the West Coast rap scene forever and took away Pac from us back in 1990. On September 7, Tupac was at a boxing match in Vegas, watching his buddy Mike Tyson throw down with Bruce Sheldon at the MGM Grand Hotel. After the bout, Tupac went all out and jumped this dude Orlando Anderson, who was as part of the LA gang. He did it to get back at him for messing up one of his bodyguards who was repping the rival Bloods gang. The whole thing got caught on the hotel security cameras too. According to Chuck Phillips, Snoop and Anderson and his gang buddies were cooking up some revenge plans that very night. They supposedly got a sweet deal of $1 million and a weapon used in the hit from the notorious B.I.G. Biggie's record label Bad Boy Entertainment was in a big old feud with Tupac's death threat. Our label at the time, about 3 hours later, around 11:00 p.m. Tupac and Esh Knight were cruising in a black BMW, waiting at a stoplight on the Las Vegas Boulevard. They were just shooting the breeze with some fans when a white Cadillac pulled up next to him. Sub and there had a semi-automatic and let off a bunch of shots, hitting Tupac 4 times. While he was riding shotgun, Tupac hung on in the hospital for 6 days. But sadly, he didn't make it due to internal bleeding. Anderson was the prime suspect in Tupac's murder, but he only got interviewed once by Vegas detectives, and he kept saying that he did not do it. He got taken out in some other gang violence in May of 1998. Torres by kept swearing up and down and left and right that he had absolutely nothing to do with Tupac's killing. But 6 months later, Biggie was taken out in the drive-by shooting in Latak. Might be gone, but his music is still rocking to this day. They put out 11 albums of his stuff after he passed, and he sold a who in 75 million records. He's also been getting a bunch of honors and tribute tests, like in 2015, the Grammy Museum gave him a big old shout out to his music career with that All Eyes on Me exhibit. Then, in 2017, he got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and just this past June, Tupac got his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But that wasn't perhaps the most ground-shaking event for all the avid Pac fans out there, especially for those who want to see justice being served. There was yet another event that came this year, albeit more recent one. See the Las Vegas poll. ICE are finally waking up and doing their job after a whopping 27 years since Tupac Shakur got hit up in that drive-by. On that Las Vegas trip, they've gone and arrested a supposed gang honcho on September 29, charging him with off in the hip-hop legend according to Las Vegas. Metro PD, this guy Dwayne "Keedy" Davis, was the big boss behind a scheme by the Southside King Crips to take out Tupac, and this all started because Tupac and his crew had a scrap with one of their gang members right after that. Mike Tyson fight on September 7, 1996 homicide. Lieutenant Jason Johansson spilled the beans during a press conference after the arrest, saying Dwayne Davis was the top dog for this crew that did the deed. He cooked up the plan, and they executed it now according to it. The cops, Mr. Davis, and 3 others rolled up alongside Tupac in a white Cadillac. Later on that same night, someone in the caddy opened fire on the BMW that Tupac and Suge Knight were sitting in, and at some point when they were in that wit, Caddy Keedy grabbed the gun he had and handed it to the folks in the backseat, according to the police. Now this arrest is a major deal because it's one of the most high-profile cold cases in both police and entertainment history, and up until now, no one's been slapped with charges for it. Lieutenant Johansson explained that they had this drought of arrests because they never had any of the goods to bring this case and drop the hammer with criminal charges. However, things took a big old turn when Keedy started running his mouth about his involvement in the shooting around the year 2018, and his story matched up pretty close with what the police were already saying. In fact, this case got a second wind as new deeds emerged about Pac's murder, especially when Keith started confessing his part in it to various media outlets. Sure enough, in a 2018 Netflix doc called Unsolved the Tupac and Biggie Murders, and in a book he published in 2019 called Compton Street Legend, Key claimed that his nephew Orlando Baby Lane Anderson was the one who did Tupac in, and he was right there in the car when the shots rang out. All right, now even then. Oh, this is a recreation of Key's confession. It's a very useful representation of how Key actually talked to the cops man Puffy, called Zip, when he heard what happened. He kept asking, was that us? So Zip hands me the phone, and I go, yeah, that was us in his book. Cairo Tadak made a wild move and reached down under a seat. It's the first time in my life I felt what the cops say, keep your hands where I could see them. Instead, Poke pulled out a piece, and that's when all hell broke loose. One of my dad's in the back seat grabbed the Glock and started blasting back, so they busted Key after they raided his crib in Henderson, Nevada, a city that's about 15 miles southeast of the Sin City, on July 17. Now, while cops never cuffed anyone before a 2002 investigation by LA Times, Juror Chuck Phillips pinned the blame on a few people, including Tupac's hip-hop rival, the Notorious B., whose real name was Christopher Wallace, and at the time of his death in September of '96, at the young age of 25, Tupac was one of the biggest hip-hop stars on the planet. The legend around Tupac had only grown ever since, but that wasn't the only thing that grew. In fact, what grew even further was the suspicion that most folks had about Puffy's involvement in this murder case. He was the missing link to a lot of the evidence and storytelling that was presented in the case. Thus far, so is P. Diddy really to blame? Well, here's what we do know. The Diddy story stems from Keefe's multiple interviews over the years where he consistently brings up Diddy's name, and just to clarify, authorities have never named Diddy as a suspect. But now Pac's stepbrother is setting the record straight, and what he's saying might catch you off guard. In an interview with the Art of Dialogue podcast, Mofra Shakur spilled the beans on a call he got from Diddy back in 2008. According to Moper, Diddy reached out to him and said, I just want you to know I ain't have nothing to do with your brothers. I know who you are, but we never met. And I just want to call you man to let you know that I have nothing to do with your brother's death. Free was a bit confused as to why P was calling and reaching out to him. Well, as it turns out, it was because of an LA Times article that came out in the year 2000 that was also implicating Diddy as a possible suspect. Now, NPR told him he appreciated the call, but the truth hasn't fully come up yet. So he told Diddy that they will have to wait and see if what Diddy claims was actually true or not. It's been so chaotic ever since, and he didn't know which way to go until more information was at his disposal. Pac's brother, Tuffy, could have been trying to save his own skin in this one. Whether Diddy called to tell the truth or just to clear his name isn't certain, but he previously mentioned in a different interview on the Comedy Hype news show that Keefe's arrest is a form of vindication, and he believes that someone will ultimately be held responsible and prime. Also hinted that Keefe potentially spilling the beans when it comes to Puffy's involvement, just like he did in the docuseries and in his book. What Keefe mentioned could be looked at from a completely different angle if the law enforcement has a job to do, and Lord knows they do. Will they do it? Though we'll just have to wait and see. Somebody's got to take the responsibility for this one. Will they hold all the people he's talking about accountable? Probably not, but that's just how it goes with old cases. A lot of the important info is lost in the sauce. That's what time does, makes people forget. However, Diddy is very much an open conversation, and you can bet your bottom dollar that the popes are taking a real rap. Good look at him as a suspect. While you're watching this exact video, we suspect that it's only a matter of time before Diddy's brought in for a little chit-chat about what really went down, and if it was really Diddy that solicit the murder of the West Coast rap legend Tupac. If you like this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more hip-hop related content straight to your newsfeed. And as always, remember to keep it RISM.